Hey, this is Brent with Lykins Motorsports. This is the oil pan for our 351 Cleveland. This is actually a factory replacement from Moroso, and I sent it to Kevco to have them put all the gates in there and baffles. So it adds a lot more functionality to the oil pan. The original oil pan was pretty damaged on the pan rail, and I was afraid to take a chance with it not sealing and then having issues. So this is it's actually a much better replacement, but it still looks the same. That's going to be the oil pan that we use. We've got a pump shaft from Precision Oil Pumps, and we also have one of Doug's blueprinted standard volume high pressure pumps. So that's what we're going with. And this video, we're going to be buttoning up the bottom end. Here is the pickup that Kevco provided. Cleveland's use a pipe thread. They don't bolt on. You can see it's tapered, so it's pipe thread. It makes it a little trickier to install. What you normally have to do is position the oil pump temporarily, mark in relation to where the pickup needs to be, and then pull the pump back off and tighten the pickup on, and then bolt the pump back on. So adds a little bit more complexity. Not a big fan of it, but I can handle it. But we're going to get started on that, and we should have the oil pan on. Hopefully, if we don't hit any snags. Snags have been a few bumps in the road for this build, but we'll get through it, and we'll get started. Here's the recipient. This is our 351 Cleveland bottom end. I'm going to get everything wiped down, and for our pre-oil pan checklist, pre-oil pan installation checklist, I'm going to go over all the fasteners, all the mains, and all the rods. I'll do that on camera so that you all can share in my OCD-ness, and we'll begin on that. I've got to locate the gasket though, so let me see if I can find that oil pan gasket. All right, we've got our torque wrench set to 110 pound-feet, and we're just going to go over and make sure that I didn't miss anything. Okay. Now I've got my torque wrench set to 63. We're torquing all our rod bolts. Okay. All right, so I have basically leveled the block. I'm gonna level my pickup because I want it to be parallel to the oil pan rail. And then I'm gonna draw a line across the pump and the pickup. That's where everything needs to line up. So I'll take my pump off and stick it in a vise and tighten the pickup. If you don't have a set, I would recommend having just a set of temporary studs. Kind of makes things a little bit easier to take the pump on and off with. But I'll get this threaded on. All right, we've got our pump bolted to the block. and got our pickup tight. My word of advice there is if you think it's tight, it'll probably go one more full turn. So if you have it in a vise, you can grab onto this and pull it around another turn. It needs to be really tight so it doesn't back off. All right, we're gonna lay our oil pan gasket down. We're gonna check our pump to our pickup to pan clearance. I'll do that by laying a straight edge across, measuring up, and then comparing it to the pan. All right, so we're gonna set our straight edge across. We're gonna measure from our gasket, and you can see right there it shows 8 inches. And it shows 8 inches on this other side. And we take it over here, set our straight edge across the pan rail. I'll have to look on this side. And we're sitting at 8 3/8. So we've got 3/8 of an inch of pickup clearance, which is right on the money. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lay down a thin layer of silicone and then lay our gasket down, and then a thin layer on top of the gasket, and then we'll set our oil pan on. I'll not bore you with all of this. It's pretty tedious and boring. So, okay, so we got our oil pan on. I'm using a complete engine fastener kit for 1970 Mustang 351 Cleveland. So these are the period correct oil pan bolts and timing cover bolts. I haven't put those on yet, but they will be. I do not use the end gaskets with the oil pans. To me, they're too hard to keep in place while you're trying to snug things down. I just run a bead of silicone and set the oil pan down on it. On a lot of my engines, I don't, well, not a lot. A few engines, I don't even use an oil pan gasket. So my dry sump stuff, I will use silicone only because those pans usually have a billet rail and you can clamp those down and they will seal up. But silicone makes a really good end gasket. I'll show you this end. And everything's clean. You can't even tell it. But it'll seal up just fine. So we're right side up. I've got something stuffed down in that hole so that nothing easily falls down into the oil pan. Got our water neck on, again with period correct fasteners. I am waiting on more rocker arms. So the Comp Cams aluminum bodied rocker arms, I noticed this while I was checking piston valve clearance. The push rod wants to touch the rocker arm body, and I didn't even really have the geometry right where it needed to be. So the rocker arm, the push rod needed to be a little bit longer, but I couldn't get there without contact. So I've got another set of Comp Cams steel rocker arms coming, and those usually have a little bit more clearance because obviously you need more aluminum for the same strength. But I did check my lift at the valve, and we're supposed to be getting 630 on the intake side, and I was getting 625. So I'm happy with that, and we'll check it again when the other rocker arms come. But here's where we sit. It's kind of an ugly duckling right now because there's no paint or anything on it, and this weekend or the end of this week when I get everything checked out with the rocker arms and know that I don't have to pull anything back apart for sure, then we'll get some primer and some dark Ford blue paint on it, and it'll look a ton better. So here's an interesting tidbit. Hold on, let me show you something. So here's the valve cover that came on the engine. You guys remember that from the first video. This is a 1970 M-Code Mustang. And I just remember seeing these on Boss 351, and it's kind of a Boss 302 valve cover as well. But I didn't think that it was the correct valve cover for that year in that car. even though the rest of the engine is strictly numbers matching. We don't know 100% sure if it was the original engine or not. I'm kind of thinking it was, but there's always the possibility it wasn't there. But on ConcorsMustang.com, there's a bunch of guys who are Concors car judges, and we put up a thread asking if an M code Mustang 351 Cleveland 4-barrel engine had those covers or these covers, and everybody is telling me that they had dark blue stamped steel valve covers. So unless I find information otherwise, this is going to be the valve cover that I'm going to put on it. I think it matches everything. I'm not going to run the old junky hose from the valve cover to the carb base or a PCV valve or anything like that. We're going to run period correct breathers, but this will be what we use. So we are slowly sneaking up on it. I should have rocker arms in a couple days, and by the weekend I should know my push rod length for sure, and should be able to get some paint on this puppy, and it needs some paint. So we'll this is video number 3 on this engine. I'm packing a lot into videos, but we should have a couple more, I would think. I got some brand new replacement sending units, oil pressure sending unit. I won't be using that on the dyno, obviously, but some vacuum fittings and that sort of thing. Distributor clamp. But we're going to try to make this thing look as original as we can. I'm going to block off the heat from the intake manifold, so we'll cap that off at the manifold. I've also got an adapter that'll help us more efficiently adapt a Holley 4-barrel to this. I've got an 800 CFM double pumper to go on it, and I've even got some old school looking 4-barrel phenolic carb spacers to try on the dyno and see if it likes it. But this is where we are, and this is where we'll be for most of the week. So stay tuned for more info and more build progress. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.